I like to say likability is a superpower. And I don't say that arrogantly at all. It's just I've always been a likable, giving person. I always have been. That's just my personality. Like I want everyone to like me, but I know that's impossible, and I could care less. If I don't have haters, I'm not doing something right. I know that. But the likability and relatability has always been my superpower when it comes down to anything business, not just real estate. That little did I know that a lot of the things that I was doing in the entertainment field is pretty much the same shit that you do here. It's just a house instead of an event.
Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and today I've got my man, Julian Rivera. How you doing, my man?
Man, I'm only good as you, Jason.
Yeah, I love it, man. I like to kick these episodes off kind of telling how we met, and for me and you know, a lot of my guests I've known for a while, and we've gotten to know each other over a course of years and through business and stuff like that, but our story only goes back about a month, and so we were at an event that TRIG put on down in Virginia Beach.
Yep.
Big event. A lot of people there. It was a Saturday. We had some weather coming in, all that good stuff. But you were the MC of that event. You kind of ran the show and were on the mic. And I was sitting by my business partner. We were a sponsor there. As soon as you got up there and started talking, I was like, I got to connect with this guy. But because of your energy, man. I was like, energy is something that you either feel or you don't, and I felt it from you from the minute you opened your mouth. You got everybody in the room engaged, focused, fired up to be there, and you carried that throughout. It was an entire day of speakers and stuff we had going on, and so I came up to you on a break. I was like, man, introduce myself, and you mentioned, I think it was one of your intros or something you were talking about. You mentioned this idea of burning the boats and going all in. And I was like, man, I've got a podcast, Burning the Ship. So one thing led to another, and here we are. So, Julian, I appreciate you taking the time to join me, man.
Nah, man, it's all good. And, you know, the power of social media, bro. I feel like I've gotten to know you over the past 30 to 60 days because of I see your posts, I see what you're doing. You know, it's one of the things when you say you want to go buy a red car, right? And then you start seeing the red car everywhere. And we say we're going to do something. And now we start seeing each other a lot, at least on the social media platforms, you know, at least in that scenario. But it's really good. And I want to thank you ahead of time for allowing me to be on your podcast right now. I've been excited for this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you got, speaking of TRIG, you're at their event tonight as well, right?
I am. Yeah. So they actually, they had me, that was my first time ever at a TRIG event. And that was a big event they put together, right? It wasn't like your normal TRIG event. Like you said, it was actually on a Saturday and snow was supposed to come in. And I don't think it got smacked that early in the day. So I'm glad that we didn't cancel it. But that was actually my first experience for TRIG, Tri-Water Real Estate Investment Group. And they brought me back to actually speak now. So tonight will be about just branding and events, to be fair. I mean, that's really what it's going to be about. And that's how I built my business. That's how I built my brand since high school, to be fair. And a lot of people don't realize that you are the brand. I don't care what business you're affiliated with. I don't care if you're a W-2 employee or independent contractor. It doesn't matter. You are the brand. So even as an employee mindset, you can be hired because of your skill set, aka your brand.
Yep.
And vice versa. When you're independent, same concept, but you know, you're burning the boats and you're going all in on that part, right? Yeah. So that's where it kind of comes into play. And you know, a lot of my story comes from just burning the boats and just, you know, diving with blind faith and figuring out as we go. Because you can agree, Jason, there's never a right time to do anything.
Right? Nope. It's and you talk about you are your own brand. I mean, we're all our own walking billboard, right? Everything we do, whether it's putting stuff out on social media or going to networking events or what have you. So I love how you put that. But let's go back. Let's take it. You mentioned you've been your own brand. We all have been our own brand for our entire lives, but you kind of started like telling your story in high school, and that's where it all began. I'm excited to hear the story because I know bits and pieces of it. I know you've worn a lot of hats. You continue to do so, but take us back to the beginning, man. Where are you from? Kind of tell us the origin story.
I mean, how long do we have? Because I got a long story, bro. I mean,
let's go.
I just want to be clear. All right. So, I mean, I was born in New York, but I came down here when I was 2. So I don't really say I'm from New York. I grew up off First Colonial Road. Virginia Beach is my backyard. My high school district was the oceanfront. So I'm a beach guy. I'm a skateboarder. That's just where it came from. And I graduated a year early, you know, back in the day when I used to be smart, I like to say. And my grandmother and my mom, both nurse practitioners, they wanted me to be in the medical field. I didn't want to be in the medical field. So I just went all in on myself, not knowing what I was doing. I just wanted to figure things out. But the one thing I did do is that I always worked in the industries that I really wanted to be at. So I had kids very young. Thank you to my mother, my grandmother, my sister for helping me be able to get myself in the room at a younger age and figure out what I like and don't like. I mean, I was working at the clothing stores, at the clothing stores in the mall when malls used to be cool. Do you remember that, Jason? Like when he actually used to go there and hang out
Right.
and not just like click on anything, get an order instantaneously when you actually had to go dig through racks of clothes and everything. So I managed a few of those stores for years. I had amazing opportunities from the age of like 20 up to like 24, 25-ish. And I know it doesn't sound long, but I started as a sales associate, moved up to assistant manager, then the store manager, then another store manager, and then the regionals and DMs. They just took me with them everywhere they went because they just liked what I brought to the table because I just like to do it. I really felt like I was leading since high school, but I really feel becoming a father really young helped me become that leader that I didn't think I was going to be able to be. So now I did that. And we all have pivotal moments, right? Like you can go back and probably narrow down to 5 decisions. Like, well, what if I did that? You just never know what could have happened because hindsight's 2020, right? And the back end. So I had an opportunity. My DM and regional manager at the time ended up getting hired at Jimmy Choo in New York, which is a huge, luxury brand. And they asked me to go with them. Mind you, I was like 24-ish around the time, 25, whatever. And it's because the 3 stores that I ended up going to, we always exceeded all the numbers, sales, branding, doing what we needed to do. And this is in the 2000s. So I declined and I always regret like, damn, I really liked fashion. I mean, I'm a shoe guy. I got hundreds of pairs of shoes. I mean, I enjoy shoes. That's one of my things, but that was one of the things I never, I look back like what happened, but I want to be a dad. I like Virginia Beach. I like Hampton Roads. So I decided to stay here. And then during that entire time, I was DJing, bro. So I'm DJing since high school. And I'm talking about back in the day, Jason, when we actually had vinyls and we had to buy doubles and we actually had to hear and we didn't have computers. Like I was a young guy hanging out with the old guys. So DJing had been my platforms literally since high school. And I just kind of went with it and ran with it. It wasn't necessarily a career for a long time. It was always a hobby. But in my 20s, I kind of burned the most on my my retail career, and I just went all in on DJ, and I went and worked at the Funny Bone Comedy Club for years and years and years. And it wasn't the guy on stage. It helped me with how I'm good and how I'm good in front of people, but I was never on stage. I was their head of security. I was their DJ. I was their sound guy. I was the freaking guy that ran the food. I was their marketing director. I was a little bit of everything, right? But I did it for a long time, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But what really helped me get into the room and understand is that I was a DJ no matter what. So I was still spinning every weekend when I wasn't there and being a pops the best that I could. Throughout that time, when I started doing the marketing role, that was a pivotal change because then I started taking all the comics to do their press for the week. So they fly in on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and then I have to take them to the radio stations. I'd have to take them to the TV stations. Back then, sometimes newspaper articles, so they get printed the next day. I had to do that. So I got to get in the room at the radio stations and the TV stations. And what do you do when you're in there? You cultivate and make relationships. I'm seeing them every week. I might have like Chelsea Handler with me, with Kevin Hart with me, Joe Coy with me, Tom Segura with me, like all these people I work with a ton of times when they're on the up and up and up before they're selling out stadiums. And there's many, many, many more. But it's just super dope to say, like, I had them in my car, like many times. We're just driving around. We're going to lunch. If they wanted to go out, I knew the spots to go to. I ended up just being like the liaison. And that was just not a title. There was no money behind that. It was just getting in the right room, for lack of better words. So doing that allowed me to conquer one of the dreams that I always did. But in my late 20s, I wanted to always be a radio DJ. When radio was radio, before streaming, that was like the thing. And I grew up listening to Z104. I grew up listening to 103 Jams. I grew up listening to FM 99, 96X. I like all music. Like, that's just my vibe. And I had an opportunity, Z104 or 103 Jams. It all presented itself at the exact same time. And at the time, I love both stations, and I still work with them with events to this day. But at the time, Z104 is more local. Like they harped on live and local, and they still do to this day. Where 103 is more of like a corporate national, and I wanted to stay local. Same concept with me maybe going back to New York to try to go with Jimmy Choo and everything. I just wanted to stay local. So that was another pivotal choice I made. And to be fair, both of those would have stayed local, but the way that the radio world has just evolved now, I'm glad I made the choice that I did, because when I started working there, I actually never got the full-time position I wanted at that radio station. I never did. But little did I know, when you work at a radio station, there's multiple stations at once. It's like if you're listening to a Bob FM or a 96X, there's not just one station. They have to have multiple ancillaries there with different genres for different audiences to keep the lights on. That's what they do. So at Intercom, now it's called Odyssey. It was Z104, 94.9 The Point, 101.32 WD, aka it's a Christmas station you hear in October, November, December, and then 95.7 R&B. So you're talking about a collective of very unique radio stations from all different walks of life, which I love. I ended up getting like part-time gigs on all of them, and then being the marketing director and running all the events and doing everything. And that was so dope because I didn't realize I was leading a team of anywhere from 10 to 20 people and back into a leadership role, just like I was a Funny Bone, just like I was in retail, but it just kind of happened organically. It's like just being in the right place at the right time, but doing what you're supposed to do without asking for a dollar first. That's very, very important. So I did that for a long time. And then 2016, which is crazy to say, this is 10 years ago, I wanted to buy a house, bro. I did. And just like a lot of entrepreneurs, what do we do when we make money? We try to write it off back in the day. And in the DJ world, I'm doing gigs all the time. I'm writing a lot of it off, or it's cash or whatever. To be fair, this was actually 2014, I'm sorry, when I wanted to buy it. So I had a 2-year plan. At the time, we needed documented income on paper for at least 2 years, right? So I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm making more money outside, but I'm writing it off. I'm making okay hourly inside. Let me go to the sales side. So in any TV or radio, you have programming, which is the honor talent. Then you have the marketing, and then you have sales, which keep the lights on, aka advertisement, right? So in this scenario, they had radio advertisement, which is as old as time, has been out before you and I were alive. This is when digital was just starting to pop, the Facebook, the Instagram, like all the main digital ones, and then events. So what did I do? I was already doing events, and I knew digital fairly well. I just honed in on those two. Radio came organically with everything else, but I honed in on those two. Every year, number one event seller, number one digital seller, because I understood it, where a lot of the OGs, it's not that they didn't understood it, they just understood radio way more, and that made more sense. So I did that for a while. I actually went to, I won an award for Commercial of the Year for the state of Virginia in 2016. I wrote a really dope commercial that is not relevant to this day anymore, but it was super dope. And I went to this event. I didn't know I was going to win. I just went there to go, and I left because I had to go DJ a gig. And then I get a call from my sales manager an hour after. It's like, where are you at? You won. I did that Irish leave. Like, they didn't even know I left. I'm like, I did not think I was going to win this, but I won that award from the Radio Broadcasting Association. I still got it in my office to this day, but I wrote a really dope commercial that beat out everything from Northern Virginia to here and everything in between. That was pretty dope. But when I won that, I got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Tennessee, in Nashville, and they put all the AEs there, all the account executives, the senior ones and the ones that were just top performing for that year in that cluster. And I'll get in that room, and I'm like, I'm by far the youngest person in this room. And I don't mean anything by that in that way. I'm just looking at it from an industry standpoint. Where is the industry going to grow? And I already saw where digital was going. I already felt that world was starting to just overtake a lot of the traditional mediums. So I made my plan. I want to buy my house, and then I want to set my 3 to 4 year plan to get out of this industry that I love, that I always wanted to be in, to see what's going to be the next chapter. Because the only thing that changed, that I realized that was different between these business owners and myself, they burned the boats and they went all in. That's literally what it was. Because, I mean, I had Dave & Buster's, I had real estate clients, I had a event company, I had restaurants, I had all these different clients that were, they were using my resources for advertisement. I'm like, dude, they're just going all in and working every day as much as I am. I'm putting an easy 80 hours in a week, but I'm getting paid hourly, or I'm getting paid salary, right? So we all had that. I was the entreployee at the time, is what I say. So now that the entreployee mindset, I started doing side hustles. I always had a side hustle, but I started developing and investing in other kind of business ideas. Some won, some lost, but I won more than I lost. And in 2016, I purchased my first house with my wife. And then in 2016, I purchased my second house. Not out of want, it was out of necessity, because I realized the house that I bought was too damn small for all my kids. Because at this time, I had all 3 of my older kids, and then I had one on the way with my wife. So like, yeah, we need more space. And ironically, still the house that we live in to this day, we didn't realize we bought our forever home at that time. But yeah, it's a dope house. I mean, it's exactly where we want to be in the city, in the back of the neighborhood, in the cul-de-sac. I mean, I'm happy with it. Very, very happy with it. So then throughout that 2016 to 2020, I developed a plan. I met some very important people, and I started just investing. I was dabbling in real estate from 16 to 20. And then my plan was, we developed this in 2019. I almost left in 2019, but something told me to stay one more year in radio. Again, I loved my job, to be very clear on that one. I love it to this day, but I just knew I wanted to continue to grow. And when you have a job, you have a cap, right? Everybody knows that. So January 31st, 2020, I retired from corporate America. And then a month later, what happened, Jason?
COVID.
Boom. So you can already think, like, what the hell was I thinking? Why did I just do that? I had a cush job. I had everything. But fun fact, the number one thing, well, it wasn't cush. It was a lot of work, but it was a dope job I enjoyed. The one thing that we did not know at the time was that was going to be one of the biggest shifts in financial wealth in the country. that everything, if you already had assets, what did it do? It only went up. But my plan was I was going to be a co-owner of a restaurant, which I was. And then I was also going to handle their marketing, get a small salary, and get my real estate license because I was already dabbling in real estate. I only had maybe not even a handful of rentals at the time, but I understood it a little bit. So my plan was already to be a realtor. Then I went and got it. It took me almost a year to get my license because it was COVID. Everything was closed. I had to literally drive to Maryland to take my test, and I failed by 1 point. You know how pissed I was to fail by 1 point? I'm not joking. I passed the national. I failed the state by 1 point. Driving back pissed for 4 hours, and then I had to schedule again in a few weeks, and I passed it. And then deport took forever. Again, it was COVID. Mad things were closed. So it took literally, I think, 8 to 9 months until I was officially licensed. And I started the process in February, March of 2020. So I didn't get licensed really the end of 2020. And then 2021 was my first full year. I got to give a shout out to Eli Miller. He's literally one of my best friends to this day. He runs Encompass Property Management. He's at our firm now over at Iron Valley. But little did I know that when COVID happened, I wasn't going to be able to DJ no more. Hospitality was done. Entertainment was done. Unless I was going on TikTok and dancing or doing some stupid shit, excuse my language, I wasn't going to do that, but I had to figure out, and I was never done with my money, thank God. So I was fine, but I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of wants. I'm like, well, I got to pivot to do something. Another fun fact, prior to me leaving, outside of being invested to a restaurant and then doing marketing for them and getting my real estate license, I've been DJing this entire time. DJing is the platform that got me in the rooms. At this time, that was the biggest source of income that I had. I had 50 DJs and 27 venues that I was booking consistently for years. So part of my plan on retiring in corporate America in January 2020 is that my income was already 3 times more than what I was making there. I just really liked being there. I started getting too busy. It's blessed. I love what I do, but we were too busy. So in that scenario, I was going all in on that one. And 30 days after, it just hit pause. Right? Go figure. But to this day, I still had access to every DJ. I have, I think, 6 or 7 venues that still book consistently. And I could take on as much as I want because we're 100% referral based. And I'm super blessed to say that because we deliver and do what we say we're going to do. But real estate started for me really in 2021. Fast forward 2026. So I'm one of the owners of Iron Valley Real Estate. We have 6 offices in the area, have over 400 agents, and we're one of the top 3 brokerages in the market. And I don't say that to flex on anybody. I say that from I got in the right rooms and I put my strengths to where they needed to go to keep growing because it's not just me. It's a whole team that gets everyone there. So the history of me in real estate, 2021, I took home Rookie of the Year in gold. 2022, I took home platinum in the Hurrah. 23, 24, 25 diamond awards back to back. In 2026, by the time April's over, I'll already be at a diamond. And I say that because growth comes from so many times that you just going all in and eating shit for a long time and figuring it out. Also, you have to have faith in yourself. So my story is I'm the DJ realtor of the area, but when I get asked to host, when I get asked to DJ and do all these other things, I love it because that's what I've done the longest in my entire life. I'm like, I can do that because most people's number one fear is public speaking. And I'm like, when someone asks me to do it, I'm like, I'm down. Let's do this. All right. They're like, all right, you go and do it. Here's the script. I'm like, perfect. But that's what always got me in the room. That's the biggest thing. So when I talk to agents, when I talk to individuals, I'm like, what are your top 3 strengths? Like, what do you think you know about yourself? Why don't you just focus on them instead of trying to make your weaknesses stronger? I'm not saying don't do that, but why? You know what I mean? And a lot of the times you have that superpower. One of mine is connecting people and making sure I could connect with people. So when I can do that, and it's kind of natural to me, I just love when people ask me to come and just be a part of whatever they're doing. Like, I don't take that for granted at all, especially now that we train so many agents and that we're in a position with all my partners, LJ, Steven, Mike, Eric, Edgar, Edwin, and all of our staff. It's amazing to see where we can be at because I didn't start out that way. I was a solo agent, and then I ended up in an opportunity, which I took, I thought making more sense for me at 23, 24, and now we're here. So yeah. It's really dope to say that you can do that. But to be fair, as the same plays I've been running my entire life, it's just creating memories one song at a time, and I change it. Creating memories one contract at a time.
Dude, all right. I started with an empty page. I got a page full of notes right now. So we're going to work our way backwards. That's a lot to unpack. Very impressive.
That's the suppressed version, by the way. That's I got way more into that.
I know. Yeah, I know there's a lot more to every step of that journey. I'm going to work backwards a little bit. So you just mentioned one of the, probably the biggest pivots I had. So I work, you probably don't know my story, but I worked in the insurance industry for years before I burned those chips and went all time or full time into real estate, which I was building on the side. But in my insurance career, I was in sales the entire time. I was an agent, and then ultimately I was a manager of a. I probably when I left there, I probably had 30, 40 people on my team. But early in my leadership career, my style of management, this was arrogance and ego, but I had this mentality that the way I approached it was the only way, right? My
Yep.
strengths were my job as a leader was to teach everybody I managed how to be like me. That's how I approached it. It was very arrogant, and it was not very successful. I had a lot of people with good potential that never saw that potential because I was trying to direct them into things that weren't their strengths, right? So what I would always focus on would, man, you're weak in these 5 areas. Let's build those areas up. So our HR department it was probably 2012. They put us through this program called Strength Finders. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
No.
and basically the whole concept, to condense it down, is what you were talking about. Identify your team members' strengths and put 90% of your energy into building those up and helping them figure out how to delegate the weaknesses. Complete mindset shift for me. And from that point on, it was just game on, rock solid. My teams were strong from that point on because what you just said is so true. If you want to add value to people around you, you let them and build up their morale and the culture and everything. Let them lean into what they're good at, what they're comfortable with. And that's exactly what I just heard in your entire story. And you kind of summed that up at the end. So, yeah.
It's I mean, it's important too, because I mean, I'm far from perfect. Like in my leadership role, I think exactly what you said. We try to guide people on what we think is best, whether it is or not, as to the eyes of the beholder. I could be reading the entire company manual, and that's supposed to be exactly what we're gonna do. But along the way, we got to remix it. There's going to be ways, because there's always case by case scenarios, but there's also you're evolving. There's certain things that are not going to be the old school methods. That there's even laws right now that are just older than us and they're still there, and we know they shouldn't be there, just nobody's taking the time to change it. So is one of the things that if we're not evolving, we're dying. Is that like the old school statement? But it's very, very true. They say the agents with that aren't using AI are the ones to be up behind, but the the news is saying AI is taking over the area of the agent. No. You just got to stay with the times, man. And I use DJ isms with everything. It's like saying I'm stuck in my ways. I'm going to only use vinyl, and I don't want to use my laptop that I can DJ and be more artistic faster because I just want to be true to the core. Nah, man. Like, I mean, no shade. No, do what you want to do, but stay with the times to stay relevant so you can continue to evolve.
And don't panic about new things, right? Like embrace it and figure out how you can fit it into whatever it is you're in. I did a podcast last week and somebody was talking about AI and asking me my opinion about, like, am I scared of it? How much time do I spend? I was like, no, I see it as a potential resource. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to evolve with it, but I view AI just like I viewed social media back when that was blowing up, just like I viewed the internet when that was blowing up, and just like cavemen viewed fire when they figured out how to cook that. Like some of them thought it was the scariest thing ever. Oh God, it's going to ruin our, culture and everything. But no, they evolved with it and they figured out how, just like the wheel and everything else, every new idea, a new concept in the history of man has scared some people, but those who have learned it and leaned into it have tend to do pretty well.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah, yep.
It's not that hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but you just got to be coachable, right?
Yep. I want to go back a couple things you mentioned that I want to touch on. Again, I'm working backwards. January 2020, you burn the boats. COVID hits. Your plan that you had when burning the boats all goes out the window. At the time, obviously, there had to be some sense of, oh shit, what did I just get myself into? But I also hear, and you telling this story, you seem to be, and I don't know if this comes natural, if you got it from your parents, if you've evolved to be this way over time, but you seem to be blinders on. This is what's in front of me, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to sulk in this panic. So was that your mindset at that point? Because you seem to pivot pretty quickly and blow up.
I want to say that last let's call it 6 years now, I've learned so much about myself. And in that time, I was scared as hell. I mean, I really was. I think majority of people were. And if you weren't, I call bullshit because we didn't know what was going to happen, right? We just didn't know. The one thing that I wasn't panicking on because I already started paying attention to investing like a little bit. Like we weren't broke. We were not rich, but we were not broke. So from a financial standpoint, that's never been really a worry for us because we've always knew we've had that 12 month, emergency fund as we've been preached on and that's programmed us to have if you're doing it the right way. Everything there was fine. My wife still had her amazing job with the government at that point in time. She's allowed me, with her still working her job to this day, to take the risks. And we were already on the page to take the risk. We just didn't expect that to happen. But I didn't have any other choice, bro. At that time, it's fight or flight, and I've never ran away from a fight. I'd rather get knocked out than run away from a fight. But I just went all in. But it's also too because I didn't have, and I didn't know this at the time, I didn't have any more distractions, man. I did not have the gigs. I didn't have the other DJs, because if I'm DJing at night, I got like 15 other gigs going on. I'm still working while doing that, and hopefully my admin is doing it, right? There's so many things that can go. Think about a real estate contract. How many things have to go from A to Z to work? But imagine all that in one night, right? So with multiple people and gigs at the same time, so the car breaks down, equipment messes up, the guy's late to I mean, there's so many ways that you can do this. So I was already used to control chaos, so that part I wasn't never scared about. It was more so I didn't have anything else to do to put my focus on other than family, which is obviously very important. But I had to go and do something because I told myself I was. I never veered away from the plan that I said, I'm going to help this guy with this company. I'm going to get my real estate license. I wasn't planning on going all 100% in on real estate. That was not the goal, but go with the times, evolve or be left behind. And I did. So now it's like I was DJing real estate. Now it's like this, I mean, but DJing's still here, to be fair. DJing's still here, but I didn't think this was going to happen. And when I talked to people and they met me a few years ago, I was like, dude, how'd you do it? I'm like, I'm just working. Like, I'm literally just working and meeting the people and doing what I say I'm going to do. It's not even any tricks behind it. I do the same thing I was doing at DJ with social media and follow up with clients. I do the same thing with events. Like, nothing has really pivoted other than me learning more about the industry and what to do better so people don't lose. That's really the main thing. It's no magic pill behind it other than the want to win for not just myself.
Well, you and I know the real estate has blown up. The DJ has kind of sits second as far as probably that gets your. But I want to be very clear with the people listening that are just getting to know you. You're still very active. Like you DJ big events. You did. I mean, just from what I see on social media, you do all the ODU basketball games. I think a lot of stuff with them. You did the polar plunge a couple months ago or a month or so ago. So you're still actively DJing big groups and you're doing the MC work or all that stuff. So it's not like it's a complete back burner. You're still very active in it and doing a good job. You mentioned something when you were trying to get into the radio stations and work and you mentioned something that I think is something that does not get talked about enough when people are trying to build their brand, like you were talking about earlier. You went in with the mindset of where can I provide value?
Yep.
And even if I got to do that on a volunteer basis and not get paid, where can I provide value? And too many people, and unfortunately it's this way, too many people are always looking to be consumers of value rather than providers of value. And I don't care what room you're in. I don't care how experienced you are. You go to, let's say, a real estate networking event like the TRIG event you're going to tonight. You show up there and you don't have any real estate experience. If you walk into that room and the only thing that you're consumed with is consuming value and extracting value from everybody there, good luck. You've got to go there with, where can I find somebody that can be a mentor to me and I can offer to ride along, help them in their business, provide that value just like you did with the radio stations. Because if you do that, it opens the door for you to show people who you are, what value you can provide, and at some point, money's going to come to you with that. They're going to start compensating you for that value. So speak to that mindset a little bit, because I think it's important for people to understand, no matter what they're getting into, if you lead with value rather than leading with extracting value, you're going to have a much, much more sustainability in whatever it is you're doing.
A lot of the times, sometimes you give all yourself to a company and you feel that they don't see it, that you're not getting compensated correctly, whether it's with people, usually it's always money, right? Or it could be PTO, it could be whatever the case may be. but you just never know who's watching. You know, for me specifically, I can't speak for everyone else. There's been so many times that I've been working for a company and other people that have nothing to do with it realize what I'm doing or they see what I'm doing. And then that's where a lot of those opportunities come from because you never know who's watching. You never know they might keep you on the radar. I mean, I really got my opportunities to go for Funny Bone to the radio station because I was showing up every week. And sometimes showing up is half the battle. Actually, it always is half the battle. Let's just be clear on that. And then when you're in the room, what are you going to do? Like, how can you nurture to create more relationships? Because your network is your net worth. We know this. That is a valid statement here. So if you're giving your all to something and you've only been there for a year or two or three, guess what? You got another year or two or three after, if that's something that you want to do to see if that big breakthrough is going to come through. Now, sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes you have to pivot rooms, but how can you marry what you're doing in and outside so people can see you politely? My mentor in radio, Don London, used to always say, when you're posting about things, it's not like you're bragging, you're politely bragging because you want people to know what you're doing, but don't feel like you're arrogantly doing it. So we post so much when we put things out there. It's not because I'm the shit. It's because you don't know what I'm doing. So how can I expect you to know my life, but I want you to know what I'm doing because now I'm going to be top of mind when you need X, Y, Z. So that's assuming that we're friends. That's assuming that you're following me. So then building an audience is a whole nother world. So if you're in that room and it's just not making sense, focus back on your strengths and make some phone calls and see if that right there is going to be your target to pivot a room, because I've pivoted rooms many a time, but I've also married the rooms together to see how it's going to work. Unknowingly, it just ends up working that way, but you never know who's watching. You really, really don't.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, you mentioned the early days of like working at the Funny Bone, and you kind of running a little bit of everything and getting the comics, from the airport and stuff like that. So at that point, you were dealing with a lot of comedians now that are household names. Everybody knows them, but they weren't at that time. They were up and comers too. Did you, with so much, and I would imagine you were dealing with these same people that were doing the radio tours, artists that were making the circuits and coming on radio shows and stuff like that. Did you pick up any nuggets from them in their early days as they're grinding, not making a lot of money, just trying to work the circuits, that impacted your evolution in any way?
There's, yes, many of them. But the funny thing is, and it's the same thing in this world, a lot of their messaging is the same. There's no secret sauce. Stay consistent, never give up, be the leader in your own lane, because you never know who's watching or you never know who's going to pay attention to you, because really you just need that one break. And that's what those guys on the circuit were doing. And a lot of them, they never got their break, but they still haven't given up because it's a career. They still can make enough or more than enough to put it on there, because there's levels in the entertainment world, right? So I'll just use Kevin Hart, for example. Kevin Hart was here multiple times. I remember the last time he came, he sold out the Funny Bone every night. Like, they had to add a show, but the Funny Bone was only 300 people at the time. But he was so cool. We'd go out 3 times a week when he was here, and he had the same people from when then to now. But then the next time he came a year later, he sold out the Hampton Coliseum. In one day, they had to add 2 shows. Right. And they both sold out too, a year. But he never gave up, but was consistent. Now, mind you, that's like A-level, right? But let's talk about like Tom Segura, for example. He's now an A-level name. Took him a lot longer to get there, but he's working the circuit. And I'll give you someone else. Marlon Wayans and Sean Wayans. Everybody knows them. They were born into this, right? They were already here if you really think about it, but they're still in the circuit. And then I went to Marlon one time. It was one after the many times that he was here and we worked. I'm like, man, why do you still do the shows and stuff like this? You're in all these movies. You have other things that you're doing. He's like, one, I really enjoy it, but 2, you never quit the grind, because when you stay consistent to something that you love, other things will probably give you the opportunity to love more. So then, if he wasn't on the grind in the comedy scene, he might not have got that next movie. He might not have gotten this. It's like me saying quitting DJing. I'm never going to quit DJing, but I can DJ in certain different rooms now, right? I don't need to do the bar or the club at the night anymore, because I want to do the gala and the wedding, right? I want to do the corporate event. I want to be at the Georgetown University in DC like I am this year for 5,000 people, because that checks more of the boxes and that's the room I want to be in. So you just evolve in your consistency. That's one thing that people don't realize. I don't mean to be complacent and consistent. Evolve in your consistency, and that's all they did. They just never gave up. And to be fair, it's cliche statements we hear from everybody. All those big speakers out there, they just deliver it differently.
I think it's Damon Wayans, maybe Marlon. One of them, ever since they started stand up, has recorded every single one of their sets. So they have their own recorder Why do they do that? Even to this day, as big as they are, why do they do it? It's exactly what you're talking about. They do that so they can analyze the tape, just like an athlete, and see where they can make improvements and continue evolving. So that is the definition of consistency. They've done that. They've analyzed every tape, every set they've ever done. Why have they gotten better? Why have they gotten the opportunities? It's not because, I mean, some of it is luck, but most of it, just like anything else, they create that luck by being consistent, doing the things that they need to do to evolve. Love that. So now we kind of walk backwards. Let's go back to now, or come back to now. You mentioned getting into real estate. That's where you started. 2020, you have a big year. We're 2021 big year, and then every year since then it's just been hockey stick growth. Why is that? What do you think? And I think you've covered a lot of it just in your story, but what gives you the confidence, the skills? What is it about you that is allowing you to have? Because there's a lot of realtors been doing this far longer than 6 years that haven't even scratched the surface of the success you've had. What do you bring? What have you done differently than most, you think, in your opinion? And I'm not asking you to be humble here.
No,
Let's
okay.
talk about it.
I it's very ironic, and I like to say likability is a superpower. And I don't say that arrogantly at all. It's just I've always been a likable, giving person. I always have been. That's just my personality. Like I want everyone to like me, but I know that's impossible, and I could care less. If I don't have haters, I'm not doing something right. I know that. But the likability and relatability has always been my superpower when it comes down to anything business, not just real estate. That little did I know that a lot of the things that I was doing in the entertainment field is pretty much the same shit that you do here. It's just a house instead of an event. Like a lot of the things are the same, and even the same thing there too. I'm humbly one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 5 DJs in the area. Not because of skill set, not because of revenue, just but the overall. Like if you're looking at a player in like a video game, I'd be probably one of your top 5 choices. If we're talking about DJs in Hampton Roads, there's some really awesome technical DJs out there that will scratch and do everything. I couldn't even follow them, but they can't jump on a microphone. And then there's another ones that they're amazing on the mic and they're just hitting a button and putting play. I feel I'm the jack of all trades because I'm really good at all that. And there's very few in the country that are good at all of that. So now in real estate, I have an amazing team, man. I really do. Since day one, when Eli Miller brought me into the business, he was an amazing mentor to get me started. And to be fair, I think COVID really helped me get on the journey, but I had the time. That's the thing. I wasn't distracted and I was hyper focused on that first year in real estate. But then I had imposter syndrome because everybody and their mom could sell during COVID, right? And then 2022, I sold more. We're still COVID times, right? Real estate's a lagging industry. All right. 2023, I sold more. I was like, all right, that might be something else different. 2024, more. 2025, more. But I kept evolving in the right rooms and not staying complacent. And I hate using the word seller transactions. There's families that trust me to help them with the biggest decision of their lives. And for some reason, they understand that I have their best interest in mind because I'm not commission breath. I never am. I've always been pretty damn good with my money. So in this scenario, I don't get paid till Z. I'm very upfront with that since day one. I just do what I say I'm going to do. And I have an amazing team to help me get there because I can't do any of this by myself. I really can't. From when I was with Eli and all the cultivation and everything that we learned from Buffini methods and everything to follow up the old school ways, which always is going to work, to now coming to Iron Valley, having partnerships and having corporate partnerships and having now an actual team that helps me, from my transaction coordinator from my assistants to my partners that push me every day. Like, we're still heavily in production. Just because we're the leaders doesn't mean that we can't lead from the front. So I just never give up, but the likability and relatability is huge. I'm not a suit and tie realtor. I will say that. And I get more compliments on that than anything else. I'll show up exactly like this to showings and I'm looking like my client. Now, mind you, if I'm selling $1 million, $2 million house, I read the room. I'm not stupid, but I'll be maybe a polo jeans and sneakers, but I'm never not going to have my sneakers. I mean, Jason, look, when I say I have sneakers, I got my St. Patty's Day sneakers on right now because I'm a sneaker guy. I like, if I'm really themed with season, that's my thing. So people just usually, when I meet somebody in person, 9.8 times out of 10, we're going to vibe. And it's just because like you said in the very, very beginning, you can just feel the energy. Like, I'm just not a bullshitter, man. I'm going to be as honest and transparent as possible. And people pick up on that.
All right. I'm going to take everything you just said and I'm going to give a real life example that involves you, that you you are truly living the words you just said without even probably being aware. It's natural you're doing it. And I'm gonna tell you how I know this.
Okay.
I show up to that TRIG event. I was a sponsor. I was there early getting my table set up. People weren't there yet. I know you're not going to remember this, but I'd never met you. I literally never laid eyes on you. And I'm outside in the hallway, setting my table, and I just walk in to kind of look at the room, see what it looks like. And you're standing there talking to, I don't know who the other person was, but you're talking to somebody. I have a name tag on, or I'm wearing something with my name on it. And you go, yo, what's up, Jason? You dapped me up. You gave me a hug. And I'm like, do I know this guy? Like, he doesn't know me. I don't know him. I'm thinking, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, this dude's just a really nice guy. He just welcomed me in. Once I realized you were kind of running the show that day, I realized like he naturally is trying, you're not even like intentionally putting the effort in. It's just happening, but it's naturally happening to make everybody feel welcome. You talk about likability. I liked you immediately. Nobody else dapped me up like that I didn't know. You did. Then, furthermore, as that went on, I came up, introduced myself. I was on stage later. You made it a point to acknowledge how I came up and talked to you. You made it all about me, not about you. I didn't know you were everything you had going on in real estate. You never mentioned it. And through that day, I realized like, oh, he's okay. So now, fast forward to now. If I ever have a need to bring in a DJ for a big event that I'm doing, who am I going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Because right after Ghostbusters, I'm calling Julian because he was nice, right, and I like him. Who am I going to call if I've got a complex real estate transaction that I need a realtor to help me down at the beach? Calling you. And that is because I assume you have all the skills to DJ. I haven't seen you do it. I assume you have all the skills to be a good realtor. But what I know for a fact is that you're a good guy with good intent, and I'm going to do business with you. So you're actually living everything you're preaching, and I appreciate that about you.
Thanks for calling it out, man. Yeah. I don't get to hear that much, and it's I don't never take that for granted. So I appreciate you saying those words. And to be fair, that's just how I approach life, man. Yeah. It's don't get me wrong. I can be a very polite asshole when I need to be for my clients, because we all have to be, right? We got to protect their best interests and obviously family, but that's not the vibe, man. It's a zero stress as much as possible. Be human. We all are. You never know who's watching, and you never know who you're going to be. And that is like when getting in the rooms and things along those matter. I never know who I'm going to meet. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know that me saying burning the boats was about burning the ships podcast. I didn't know that you evolved from being in the insurance industry into the hard money industry and other ancillaries that you're doing. I had no idea. But who gives it? Not in your scenario, but who gives a shit what people do because we're all human. And then you evolve to see what they do. And then maybe there might be a connection. But if you can't connect like that, it's just energy doesn't match, bro. I'd have the Gary Vee effect. Say hi to everybody. Be you. Don't fucking change for anybody. And people will work with you who you want to work with. And it's so far so good. I will say that.
I love it, man. So what we're going to do, Julian, is in the interest of time, because I really want to, the success you've had in a relative short period of time in real estate, that's worth dissecting a little bit. So what I'd like to do is, a lot of listeners know I'm launching another podcast this month, Dealmaker Catalyst, where we get a little more tactical in real estate and business. So later this year, I'd like to have you back on, and we're just going to dive into that, because I think you can provide some value there too. But as we wrap this up, you just shared a story of all the things we've talked about, but resilience, pivoting, evolving, consistency, all the good words, but you're living it. You're not just saying this. Where can people, I know you're very active on social media. You've done a great job. You're talking tonight at TRIG about building that, that brand you talked about so well earlier. But where can people learn more about you, and how can they contact you if they need your services?
Yeah, for sure. So website is djjulianrivera.com. Majority of people contact me through Instagram. Ironically, I was fighting that for so long, but every ancillary, Facebook, Instagram, X is at DJ Julian Rivera. So I try to keep very consistent on the brand, and just DM me. I do have one big announcement I'm going to make tonight on TRIG. And then again, it's about marketing, branding, and never being complacent. Always want to continue to go better for your community as well, not just individually. So you'll see what I mean. And then I will make an announcement on your show. And I'm not saying this tonight at TRIG, but I'm writing a book, and this book coming out is going to be called Get in the Room. And it's so important that people showing up, understanding that that's 50% of the battle. And it's not gonna be like a bio about Julian. There'll be some isms in there, but nothing crazy. This is gonna be my first, I don't know of many, but I've been saying this so much lately that people are starting to say it around my circle. I'm like, I just need to start talking about this and put it out there, because there's so many more hats that we wear as entrepreneurs that we have to continuously stay in front of our audience in order to stay relevant. And being a published author has always been one of the things that I want to do. Being a radio host is something I wanted to do. Being a TV host is something I wanted to do. Being an owner of a brokerage is what I wanted to do. Being a top producing real estate agent, more importantly, being an amazing husband and father, has been something I wanted to do. And I'm checking all those boxes. I just got to write that damn book. So it's like, now, what's preventing me from doing all that? So I'm not getting in my own way, but I make that announcement now. Will it be out? It could probably be out in Q3 of this year, like later in the year, because of the other project I'll announce, but you'll see if you're there.
I love it, man. Unfortunately, I won't be there tonight. This will come out, several weeks after you announce that at TRIG, but I'm excited to hear more about that. And just in the interest of time, I just want to bring this up because it's important. You led everything at the beginning of this whole story with the fact that you did it because you had a child, right? That kind of led everything. And now you've gone on, you have 4 children. If I did my math correct, 5. Okay.
Yep.
And that seems to have been, as cliche as it sounds, like your North Star this whole way. And I'm gonna kind of let you wrap things up on this question, this thought. I talk a lot about legacy on here, and what that means to folks. But as you're doing all these things you've been a part of, obviously the family, the wife, the kids have been top of mind. And we talk about, everybody says it, it's cliche, my family is my why. Take that a step further, and what does that mean to you, and how does that reflect in the decisions you've made over your career?
So first, shout out to my wife, Myra, and then my children, Julian, Jadelle, Janae, Miles, and Mia. Those are my whys overall. But the real why, I didn't grow up with a dad. Full transparency. It was my mom, my grandmother, my sister, and I, and my uncle was there too when he could be, doing the best that he possibly could be, rest in peace. But I wanted to be present. I wanted to be that provider. I wanted to be what I didn't have. Now, mind you, I had a good childhood. There was nothing wrong with that part, but I just wanted to be an example, because I could be the deadbeat. Anybody can. That's the easy part, right? No, that's not even in my blood. I wanted to be that guy for my family. And to be fair, my real why, I want to be, it's funny, but I want to be the painting of Grandpa Julian on the wall that every generation sees, because I was that one person to change our generation. That's exactly what I want to see. I want my great, great, great grandkids to remember me, because I'm that guy. You know how like the Rockefellers have the OG Rockefeller on the wall from like the 1800s? That's what I want to be in the 2021s or 2100s, whatever that's going to be, and beyond.
Yeah. I love it, man. You and I have a lot more we could connect on. My father wasn't around either, and I'm a single mom, the whole deal. But even back then, and I fortunately had a mom that steered me this way, but
right.
Like, I just viewed that as it taught me how to be a good dad, how to be a good husband, because I didn't want to put my children or my wife through what I went through and what I saw my mother go through. Right. So that's motivated everything. And I can, I'll hang my hat on that till the day I die. So it's just, there's a lot of examples, and you probably have a lot of them too, where adversity kind of motivates a lot of good things out of it, if you have the right perspective and mindset around it.
Boom. Exactly.
Yep.
Is the glass half full or half empty, Jason?
Yeah, it's full, man. It's filling up.
Always half full.
Yeah.
Always half full, right?
Yep. That's right. So, Julian, I can't thank you enough, man. I feel like we could go on for another couple hours, but we'll definitely run this back. And you've also, if you want to plug this, and we'll link it below, you've got a podcast as well, right?
Yes, Your Peak Life podcast, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. So we actually record it in our studio, which Jason will be a guest on our show in a few weeks, whenever we can work our schedules around. But yes, and then we also do a lot of our reels and our short videos and everything we put on our platform, on the YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, Your Peak Life podcast.
Cool. We'll link it all down below. And again, Julian, appreciate your time. And, I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value, just if nothing else, from a mindset perspective, which is my goal every time I hit record on this show. So I appreciate you.
Jason, thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
All right, my man. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Burning the Ships. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, 608B Capital. helping real estate investors secure fast, reliable funding to fuel their boldest moves. If you're ready to take your investing to the next level, visit 608bcapital.com to learn more. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps us reach more people who are ready to burn the ships and commit fully to their goals. And don't forget to share the episode with someone who needs that extra push to take bold action. I'll leave you with this. Burning the ships isn't just about removing the option to retreat. It's about unlocking the courage to charge forward. No matter the odds, the past is behind you and the future is yours to conquer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Burning the Ships.